Hi, you entrepreneurs. Today we have Ram. He is the CEO and founder of MyHerbPharm and the owner of San Diego Herbal Medicine and Acupuncture. These are just a couple of his businesses and a couple of his successes. He actually goes in detail in the podcast about his failures. So anyone listening, it's not about basically how you failed, but as long as you learn from it. Listen to this episode, subscribe, tell your friend, and hopefully you get some great tidbits.
Welcome to the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with real estate agent Vinny SD.
All right, thank you, Ram, for getting on the platform. So as we kind of talked about already, serial entrepreneur. You jack of all trades. I was trying to write a whole list of all this kind of stuff, and I was like, you know what? Let's just get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So I prefer that title because I've dabbled in many different industries, but at the end of the day, it just all comes down to entrepreneurship. So it's a I don't know if it's a personality type, it's a mindset, it's something along those lines that could be applied anywhere.
We're going to get into the history and all, like the business consulting and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into that. Mm-hmm. So right now, just so people have kind of insight into who you are currently working on a app, right? You said?
Yeah. So it ties into what I'm heavily into right now. I've been practicing integrative medicine for the last 7 years. I opened a clinic here locally in Bankers Hill, Hillcrest area. We've got about 10 doctors. We do herbal medicine. We do acupuncture. We have a physical therapist in there. We have a full pharmacy. We have a full herbal pharmacy. So integrative medicine is my thing right now. And in that process, with my business partner and I, we developed some software to further take herbal medicine to help introduce herbal medicine on a larger scale to the United States.
I like how you said that right there. Integrated medicine is my thing right now. Like I've had a lot of interviews, and everyone's never says that. They never say it is my thing right now, and that shows the extent of how many businesses you built.
Yeah, but this one I think I'm a lifer for. I think it's always going to be a part of me because it's a lifestyle. It's medicine. I'm a primary care physician. So basically, people are coming to me with any disorder. So like at heart, I'm a practitioner. I practice medicine. But right now is the projects that I'm working on right now are in herbal medicine.
So I can usually kind of start getting a gauge of kind of somewhat of a history of an individual. And you're talking about, you've had the consulting, you've had this, but you're at heart, you're a practitioner. Like, I have no clue. So were you in like med school before? What happened? Walk me through like your past.
All right. So this is how it started. I was studying chemistry at University of Washington in Seattle until I volunteered. I was pre-med until I volunteered at the UW Medical Center. And I really didn't like the feel of the hospital setting and a lot of stuff that was going on. The politics and then insurance and the way that things were operating. So I had a change of heart, and then I started studying entrepreneurship at UW, which is like, I think at that time it was the first entrepreneurial program in the United States, I believe.
Wow.
So that's something you guys could look up. I do believe it was that. And it was one of its kind. And this is at University of Washington during the .com boom. So everybody did well. You come up with any idea, you did well. So that's how it all started. And then so I got a little background in the sciences and some medicine. Always been a fan of philosophy, so Eastern philosophies, Taoism, and a lot of herbal medicine I've been into even prior to what I'm doing now. I'm talking in the teens. And when I graduated college, they recruited all of us, big salaries. Microsoft recruited us. They're fighting over us, and, Amazon, everybody was. And I was like, nah, I don't like this. I moved to San Diego. I got out of there. and opened up a health food cafe on the beach in PB.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This wasn't my thing. I couldn't see myself in a cubicle.
So wait, how did that idea come from? How did you pick a health cafe on the beach?
Yeah. So, I've always been ethical with my businesses, even what I'm doing right now. Every single one of them. I try to combine a cause and my personal philosophy into every single one of them. And, that's where my secret juice comes from. When I'm tired, or if you never feel overworked when you have a cause, right?
Yeah.
So you're fighting for something. And in this case I want to provide healthy options for people to eat, right? And back then, I'm talking 2002, 2003. I was 22 years old. I started importing acai from Brazil. I was one of the first people to do it. I think I was on the Travel Channel for it. But so I was like, let's have a cause. So health food was my first cause right out of college.
So how did you learn how to get a loan? Was it all through schooling? Was it?
No, man. This one I jumped right in. It was easy. I mean, it's a health food cafe. It wasn't rocket science. I came from writing business plans for, $100 million businesses. And this was like, all right, we'll make a menu, some smoothies, got to taste good. The operations wasn't complicated. It just took a lot of, hard work. Food industry is tough. Rum Jungle Cafe, it's been there, 16 years now. And I even think back of doing like a 4-hour shift there. I get freaking panic attack. It is so hard. Food service is really hard. But yeah, it didn't take too much know-how. Also because the timing was right. You know what I mean? Like people were ready to get health food. 2003. Right now, it's like the standard. You know what I mean? But when I first started it, there was an educational curve. I had to educate people this is a power fruit, acai is this thing. So we had to do this whole educational phase. But that was difficult. But the timing was right. And that's one of the things, the listeners, if they're listening, timing is everything. I've had about 10 projects where I was just way too far ahead.
Well, talking about kind of the knowledge base of training the audience for your product, like I had Jeff Fenster from Herbal on here, and so he kind of has a same kind of mindset on it. And he has two basic businesses. One's basically the training of the individual of the mindset of eating right, and the other one is the Herbal business, right? And it's like, and with all these new fads, you're kind of like, okay, wait, is that something new? Is that how long? Yeah. So I totally understand. So
He owes me some free meals. I paved the path there for acai.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, the people. I had to educate everybody. They're like, "What is this purple stuff?" I'm like, "Let me tell you about it." Omegas.
So how did that work when you were at the front, like the front line, right, of training people on this? Was it just walk in and then you kind of had to describe what it was? Was it advertising pieces? What did you do to educate the masses?
So with anything, and I wanted to talk about this, and we'll go into it with these other projects. Piece of information, I think it was that email he sent me, something to talk about. Basically, one thing I learned is no matter what you're doing, you have to become an expert in it. You have to be really good. You can't just, you have to know your product. You have to know your service, and not just a little bit. You really have to know it. So when people walked in and they're like, what is this fruit bowl? I didn't say, oh, it tastes good. It's nice, isn't it? Right? I was like, oh, this right here, it's got omega-6, omega-3, omega-9s. You know what that does, right, for heart health, blah, 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 blah. And I was just going off on people. I was more excited about the acai than they were, So
you remember that pitch?
What's that?
Do you remember your pitch? So if I walked in there, how would you describe what this bowl is?
Oh, man, I was really cool back then. I used keywords. People walk in. And I was like, they're like, what is this? I'm like, it's dank. This is what it is. They're like, what? Who the hell is this guy? I'm like, look at it. It's dank. It's amazing. But let me tell you, it's a health food, but it tastes good. It's like, and he went right into it.
So what happened next? So you built that place, and then that it's still going strong. And then when
I can't believe it's still going. It's a hole in the wall. It's awesome. But yeah, so what happened was I was like, okay, cool. Did the health food thing. How can I help more people? So I went back and I went to this program. It's called Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. Freaking hard. It was a 4-year Masters of Science in Traditional Chinese Medicine. Studied that for 4 years and then became a practitioner.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And in the meantime, I was doing business plans the whole time. So in the meantime, I was a business plan consultant for, I don't know if you're familiar with this. They're called EB-5 visas for foreign nationals who want to open a company in the United States.
Oh, wow.
They have to write a business plan. And when they invest $1 million, they get a green card.
Oh, wow.
So it's a way for foreign nationals who really want to invest heavily in the U.S. markets to get like citizenship or permanent residency.
Yeah.
And so this whole time I was writing these big business plans like wind farms, energy, you name it. It was crazy. Casinos. And I would have like 30 days, 60 days to become an expert in that industry in order to write a business plan to know more than about the person who wants to do the business in that field. It was crazy.
Wait, so you built the store out, right, in PV?
Yep.
And then you're still doing plans at that time?
Oh yeah, I was knocking them out. It was crazy. I'm working right now, 12-hour days. I'd come home, jump on the computer, and mind you, like I wasn't as workaholic. We would go out and get drunk. I was 23 years old, so we would go out after work and have drinks and so forth. And I'd be like, oh my god, I gotta write this business plan. You know, I would just hustle. You know, I just work hard.
Wow. So I mean, most people are afraid that their first business is any of their businesses are not going to make it, and you're actually helping other people start their business.
Yeah. It's that energy though. Outside of just, you know, the thinking about it and working hard, it's that energy, man. You just gotta wake up and be happy and work hard, put a smile on your face, and just like life's not that serious.
So how did helping other people build these business plans out affect the transition to your next venture?
So what it comes down to is critical thinking. Like, you know, I'm not a genius. Like, I know, you know, I studied the sciences, you know, I studied physics. Like, those people are geniuses. Like, basically, I learned that critical thinking. Like, you really got to sit down and think hard. You know, fortunately, I had that pressure on me. They're like, we need this business plan in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, I got to become an expert in wind energy in 2 weeks and knock out a 40-page business plan with financials. Holy shit. Right? So, but what it taught me is you could do it. You sit down and you think, and I'm sorry if I cuss a lot.
No, you're fine.
You sit down and you think really fucking hard. You know, you look up resources, you read, and you really critically think about things. You break it down to its elements, and then the opportunities start opening up there. You start recognizing patterns. You start recognizing, you know, you get a little bit of piece of information here, a little bit of piece of information there. Next thing you know, you start recognizing the opportunity.
So I think this is a very intriguing aspect of your life right there, building the business plan, especially for people listening right now.
Yeah.
Like, so for yourself, let's say how much information was given to you by the business owner, the individual who's looking to start the business, compared to what you had to actually research and then kind of put together?
Oh my God, it was crazy. These are foreign nationals. So I got these Chinese citizens who I don't even know. They don't do stuff like that. They don't do business plans. So like, they're like, I want to open a casino. I'm like, okay, cool. Send me all your data. Send me your financials, your projections. They're like, you're doing that. I'm like, yeah. Why do you like? Where do you even start? Like, why do you want to do a casino? They're like, my friend said that's a good business, and these are like very wealthy people. They're only paying like a few $1,000,000 so they can get their kids to school here. So I had nothing. I'm like, you don't even know what you want to do. So part of what I had to do is even recognize the opportunity and BS the audience. Like, oh, this investor recognized the opportunity. Like, for example, in the casino, in the video gaming sector of blackjack. Like, I had to go find that stuff out, you know, like, so it was like in-depth research, right? So that trained my brain is to really sit down and analyze things.
So how do you verify, or what platforms do you go to verify that you're getting the real information? Because it's like we almost have an abundance of information out there with websites and that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so verifying that it's actually real information. How did you do about that, or what happened
I
there?
like a lot of university sites publish things.
Okay.
I tap into, like, for the casinos, I actually went into the UNLV, Las Vegas, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I went into their databases and looked at some studies that were published. There are, for whatever you're thinking about, someone's started a business plan on it.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And so I pulled from a lot of that. A lot of databases, like city databases, have information. But yeah, it's a lot of research. You just keep looking.
So okay, so you built the thing in Pacific Beach. You built that
Yep.
place. You're building the business plans. Then what's next?
So I study medicine, which I love. I'm obsessed with medicine. So then I was like, I'm not going to go work for someone. Let's build a clinic. No one has done an integrative clinic like this. Let's build a clinic. So I used some of the funds that I have, that I had from the cafe. And right out of school, I found this awesome building in Bankers Hill. It was an old historic building. Spent 2-3 months, restored it, and opened up San Diego herbal medicine and acupuncture with 3 or 4 of my colleagues. And they were stoked because they didn't have to pay anything. I kind of fronted them till they got their practices going, in return for help setting the place up. And so we opened up this clinic with the intention of being fully integrative. So over the years, we've had physical therapists, DOs, chiropractors, herbalists, acupuncturists, naturopaths, everybody in there. And we all learn from each other. So that was really hard. It took about 3 years to get that going. And one thing the audience should know, this is not overnight stuff. This is like, how am I going to make rent every month for like 30 months? Same with Rum Jungle. It took forever for things to become profitable. You get ready to be broke. Like, you got to be okay being broke for a while.
Was there ever a time where you got to that point where you're just like, man, I'm spreading myself so thin on all these different aspects that I need to basically give something up and just focus on one thing?
So I teach that a lot. I tell people to do that a lot. So you'll never get a business off the ground as a side hustle. It doesn't work. I've yet to meet an entrepreneur who started a company and killed it on the side. Like, I challenge the audience to go find someone who started a company and just crushed it as a side hustle. It doesn't work that way, right? So to what you're saying, I brought in a manager and I put the cafe in his hands, fully trained him, and said, I don't even want to know what's going on for the next 24 months.
Wow.
Yep. So you really do have to focus on things. I turned down the business plans,
Yeah.
Everybody was asking me to write them business plans, and they're lucrative. I'm charging 15, 20 grand a pop. And I was just like, I can't do it. I just got to focus on this. And
So at 20, 21 or 20, when did you open Rum Jungle? 22?
yeah, I was 22. Yeah.
22. So the hiring process can be pretty difficult too, especially at 22 to find the right manager.
Yeah.
How was that?
So I didn't hire a manager until I was done with the med school part. So I was 26, 27 at that point. You're hitting on a really, really big point here, which is employee management, right? Holy moly. That's the hardest part of any business,
Yeah, because you have a focus. You know what you need to do, but now leveraging other individuals, that's a whole ballgame.
And I'll say this to the listeners out there, you get what you pay for. And if you don't have the money to pay for it, you pay in other ways. Like, you support them in certain ways. Like, my manager is family. We, I think he even helped put down the down payment for his first home. You know what I mean? Like, you just do with what you have. It doesn't have to be monetary. But you do have to pay. You get what you pay for. So it's worth paying a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot more, but it's worth paying more and keeping someone who's loyal and reliable. But, you go through like 10, 15 people before you find that person, unfortunately.
So looking back at all the years to get to the point that you're at now, can you narrow down maybe one or two hurdles that have kind of been the biggest things that you had to kind of work through?
Yep. So these are my success stories, my man. Let me talk to you about the failures. So while I'm doing this, I started 4 other companies. One of them was called EcoBike. We were actually in the Union Tribune for it, I think. It was called EcoBike in 2006. This is before any bike sharing came to the United States. I was like, bike sharing is going to kill it here. Wow. So we started EcoBike, blah, 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 blah. So it failed. Why did it fail? 2 things that I learned. These are the hurdles. One, you got to be an expert at what you're doing. Okay? Especially if you don't have the funds, you don't have the money. Like, you either got to be the expert or have a ton of money to hire experts. And again, listeners out there, it's not like, oh, I have $100,000. No, a programmer costs $120,000 a year to hire, and you want 5 programmers. You're looking at $500,000 a year just for some programmers. That's just salaries, right? So if you're not the programmer, right, it's going to be tough. So that's the big lesson I learned. That's why I went and studied alternative medicine. I wanted to be an expert in that field. I didn't want to hire an expert in that field and open a clinic. I wanted to be the expert. So that was the hurdle. The hurdle was learning that, because the industries where I failed in was areas or sectors where I was not the expert in. I had a great idea, but I was not the expert.
What were the 3? Can you tell us the 3 other failures?
So that was a big one because I invested a lot of time and money into that one. Let me see a good one that I failed at. Let's see. What's one that slipped through my fingers? Oh, okay. Yeah. So I came up with a note-taking device. It looked like a pen, but it was an electronic device for students when you're taking notes. Instead of highlighting, use a highlighter. You would use this pen, and it would scan the information right onto your computer, and you'd organize your notes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you've studied a lot, you know how important that would be.
I thought I saw something like this before a couple years ago.
Yeah, it came out. It broke my heart. It came out like 12 years later, though.
Oh, okay.
I was on a plane. I'm like, oh, look, this is like Sky Mall. I'm like, oh, look, I finally did it like 12 years later. But here's the thing. I wasn't an engineer, right? I didn't understand a lot of the engineering aspects. I love that. And my business partner and I talk about this all the time. Like, ideas are a dime a dozen. We could sit down right now and come up with 10 ideas, of how things should be done better. Am I an expert in it? Do I know what the hell I'm talking about? No. Right? So, I was not an engineer that understood hardware, and the capabilities at that time of optical readers. I just knew it was a good idea, right? So that one failed. And these aren't like real failures. They're just like they never took off. It wasn't like it took off and had to file bankruptcy. They just never took off. And then the other one was I designed a concept called e-courtrooms. And this was back in the day when the tech, again, I was like way too ahead of the times. We wanted to make all courtrooms electronic based, and we could reanimate accidents instead of people going up with those white pieces of paper, and drawing like with Sharpies about what happened. We would reanimate accidents and conditions, and it would be projected on a screen, which is now the standard, right? Like, that's the standard. And I remember pitching this back in the day, and they're like, oh, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. And that one failed too. But again, I wasn't an expert in it. I wasn't able to be like, actually, yeah, look at the capabilities of these projectors now and this and that. And we've actually developed this, we've developed a product that will project this and, it'll plug right into your laptops or, you know what I mean? I was not the expert in that field. I just knew that would be good.
So if right now, if let's say we have someone in college, they're just about to get into college, they're going to want to start their own business. What kind of advice would you give that individual?
Become an expert in something.
Just be that expert, huh?
Be an expert. I mean, being the guy with the ideas is awesome if you're like Elon Musk, right? You got like millions of dollars to throw at things, and to the new entrepreneurs, to your credit, you probably are amazing and you do have great ideas. But we're not all, unless you come from, one of these Ivy League schools where, my cousin goes to Stanford and he's like, oh yeah, my roommate's dad is the CEO of blah, blah, blah. The guy down the street is blah, blah, blah. My girlfriend's mom is blah, 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 right? Like, unless you come from that, you need tons of money, a lot of money to hire experts. So either you become an expert or hire experts. If you don't have the money, you better be the expert. Right?
No, for sure. Well, talking about being an expert, what are you learning now? Where's your next focus going to be?
So I'm focusing on e-commerce right now because lifestyle. Being in this medicine for as long as I've been, it's only been 7 years. But one of the biggest things I treat right now is a lot of the health conditions that I treat right now are a result of the American lifestyle, which is very high stress. So we're stressed out without even knowing it. That's how conditioned we are. Our brains have been trained to withhold and to to be able to handle this massive amount of stress at all time. From kids, you're being tested all the time, and then school, and then college, and then board exams and certification exams, licensing exams, and then work. It's like, so for me, I want my family and I to be very healthy, and I wanted to create a platform where I would have an impact again on people, which is providing medicine. And that's how I go to sleep at nights. I'm not just a hardcore capitalist. I want to provide a service, right? So my whole thing was, yes, I want to spread herbal medicine and make people better because of the success I have with my patients at the clinic. I have a 2-week waiting list. I work with the Olympic teams. I wanted to create a lifestyle where it was less stress. And I think e-commerce for me is a way of being able to have time to spend with my family. So we would get residual income and we could be working out of Spain. We love Argentina. We love these different countries and places that we go to. I could work from anywhere from my laptop and have a lifestyle that's less stressful. So that's what I'm working on right now. So I'm becoming an expert right now in software and e-commerce.
Do you, and this is only from the short time that we've talked, I don't know if I'm just kind of putting everything together, but it seems like your successes have been in the fields of health, while the failures that you kind of talked about didn't have any really true correlation to health.
Yep. Isn't that amazing? And, and that's what I teach a lot is like everybody I consult for, everybody I talk to, people who really follow their passion and have a cause, their success rate is through the roof because that's what gets you up in the morning.
Yeah.
I Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I'm in the clinic and I feel amazing. I can't wait to help my patients out. I know I got a full list. I'm like, holy moly, I got 16 patients today. I got to go in there and deal with some crazy stuff, anywhere from cancer to IBS, right? And or just a shoulder strain. But my heart's in it. It's so much easier to get up and work when your heart's in it, right?
Yeah.
So I highly that's been for me, health, wellness, all that stuff has been my passion. And that's a nice observation. It's a great observation. The ones I went in strictly for money have failed.
Yeah, it's I think for anyone listening right now, that's a huge thing, because you talk about the health idea and just it shows with your success. I mean, if someone's looking to kind of not follow your path, but find your businesses that you own, they want some of your services, is there a platform that has a kind of a directory to all of them, or they just have to find based off of each?
I'm hard to find. I'm actually, that's the part that's lacking. I got so many complaints. We just did a convention of people walking up to me. They're like, yeah, I've called you and emailed you. Why don't you write me back? I'm like, I'm so hard to get a hold of because I'm juggling so many different projects.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with phone calls even. So the way to find me is to make an appointment. Like I tell my patients, I'm like, you can't catch me unless you're in the room. Like we're one-on-one, right? So I'm at San Diego Herbal Medicine and Acupuncture. That's for my patients. I specialize in orthopedic, but I also specialize in internal medicine, and I do a lot of burnout for a lot of entrepreneurs. I do these sessions. This new thing. This might be of interest to your listeners. So I started getting entrepreneurs that would come in, and so in the I call it a classroom. In my treatment rooms, I treat a lot of symptoms of burnout. And mental health, like anxiety, depression, all of these things. The biggest barrier to succeeding in business is mental health, in my opinion, right? If you get anxiety every day, how productive are you going to be? If you're depressed, you can't get up and get to work. If, physically also, if you're not feeling good, you're not working hard, right? Your energy's not in it. So I treat a lot of entrepreneurs. We discuss some of their business, and then we really dig into their health. So mental health is a big thing that we do. What at the clinic?
I know you said that sometimes we don't even know that we're going through anxiety or how the stress inside of us. Is there like a way of testing or something like that? do you have this external stress? Is there something like that you can do?
There is. So you'll know when you start getting sick. Basically, the symptoms. See what's happening is the brain nowadays has a higher capacity to handle stress. So I get all these type A, just everybody. It's not even just type A. You get people coming in who have the mental capacity to handle stress, but it doesn't mean that their bodies are like punching bags, because every time you're stressed, your body's producing these stress hormones, cortisol, and your brain is like, oh, I'm fine. But your body is just taking a beating. We know during high stress that our immune systems are like barely functioning. During high stress, our metabolism goes to nothing. During high stress, you're in a sympathetic system that's fight or flight, right? And you're not in parasympathetic. That's when your joints heal. That's when the lining of your gut is repairing, all the tissue in your body. So when you're stressed out, everything is falling apart. But your brain is like, oh, I'm fine. Let's do another 2 hours, right? So the symptoms you would see is a lot of digestive issues come from stress that people are unaware of. Like a lot of fatigue comes from it. Getting sick easily is the symptoms I see a lot. And then mental health, high levels of, I never used to be an anxious person. Now I get heart palpitations before I get on the phone, right? Or I've never was depressed before, but I think I'm depressed. Like, for me to get up and get to my computer and log in takes me like an hour. And, and I'm like worrying about things. So you're starting to get some serious side effects. And at 60, you get heart disease, you get all kinds of autoimmune issues. Like stress is, to me, the number one killer. So that's the majority of what I treat in my clinic now.
I don't know about everyone else listening, but I got to make an appointment with you, I guess.
Yeah, San Diego Herbal Medicine and Acupuncture. Ask for Ram. And to your listeners, you have a lot of listeners. I only do referrals because of that's how I set up my practice. But to everybody who's listening and to you, mention that if you call the clinic, mention that I was on this podcast.
Yeah.
And they'll allow you to make an appointment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Thanks again, Ron, for being on the platform. Thank you again for telling your story. I mean, I think there's a lot of words of wisdom, a lot of information there.
It's too much.
No, it was great. I appreciate it. So everyone listening, please subscribe, please share, tell your friends, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to The Road to Growth, Success of an Entrepreneur. Please like, subscribe, and stay connected. Visit www.vinnySD.com.
Yeah, I created a website.
Hope to see you again next week. Team Vinny SD, signing off.